Okay, dear students, good evening. How are you? So, still our topic is incomplete administrative structure. But my students, time and again I'll remind you that simply go through the topic is not sufficient. That is not suffice to fulfill your need. What is more required and what is the main requirement? That is, you have to be a thinking creature, and for that you are supposed to have underline the forces of changes in history. So it is with this purpose I have divided history in different parts, political, economic, social and cultural, and each segment we are going across horizontally in place of going vertically, so that through a comparative study you can very well underline the changes. तो मैंने आपको बताया कि देखिए सिर्फ पढ़ना ही पर्याप्त नहीं है, बल्कि एक विशेष तरीके से पढ़ना पर्याप्त है, और मैं उसी विशेष तरीके से आपको ले चलना चाहता हूं कि जिसमें आप इंफॉर्मेशन बेस्ड न होकर अंडरस्टैंडिंग और एनालिसिस बेस्ड पढ़ाई करें. तो मैंने कल आपको एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पार्ट में आई हैव जस्ट डन द वर्क अप टू गुप्ता पीरियड. Up to Gupta period we have finished a study. Possibly this Gupta period was not finished. Today I will observe it and I have to move further from the point I have left you once again after repeating it. So let us start with the 5 minutes. Today not 5, 6 questions I have brought for you people. And you people are brilliant enough to deal with the questions and to answer the questions. So just go through it. Question number first. Which of the following officers was where associated with the district administration under Mauryas? Means now you have to find out the names. They are the following names and these officers. Point 1 Pradeshika, point 2 Rajuka, point 3 Gopa. And the question is ki how many of them or all of them, whatever may be the reality, you have to find out ki associated with the district administration. Choice A 1 only, choice B 1 and 2 only, choice C 1, 2 and 3, and choice D 1 and 3 only.
Maximum B, Bombay.
B. Yes. Good. Because you know ki Gopa was an officer. He was associated with the unit of villages that was just beneath the district administration, So we cannot count here Gopa. We are compelled to leave Gopa here. Question number 2. Which of the following factors indicates the administrative centralization under Mauryas? Means you have to find out here. My student, the question is conceptual, slightly conceptual. The previous question was the factual question. So you are supposed to be more conscious and watchful about the question so that you have not to miss the bus. The choice is under Mauryas, you have to find out the administrative centralization under Mauryas, and you are having the following choices. So go through the choices. Point 1, introducing census. Point 2, state participation in economic and social fields. Point 3, the presence of Council of Ministers under Mauryas. So there are 3 choices. Choice A 1 only, choice B 1 and 2 only, choice C 1, 2 and 3, and choice D 1 and 3 only.
C.
Choice number In spite of my, you can say, warning, you have been fell into the trap. You have fallen into the trap. Actually, introducing census. Census was symbolizing growing centralization. I agree with you. So that is correct. State participation in economic and social fields. If a state was participating in economy and a state was just trying to regulate society, it was definitely leading towards the administrative centralization. But how can you prove that simply a presence of Council of Ministers may be a factor behind centralization, in spite of the fact that almost in all the periods you will find the presence of Council of Ministers. मतलब Council of Ministers का होना centralization कैसे हो सकता है बच्चे? मुझे ये समझ में नहीं आता. ये पिटफॉल में आप जस्ट उलझ गए. तो इसलिए आपका आंसर होना चाहिए बी 1 and 2. मिस्टर अंकुर, Have they selected? Any of them have selected the choice number B or not?
Yes, sir. कुछ बच्चों ने select किया था.
Yeah. Okay, good. Question number 3. The method of land grants was guided by the following objectives. The method of land grants by guided by following objectives. मैंने आपको land grants के बारे में बताया था, किसके टाइम में शुरू हुआ तो वह भी बताया था. The land grants started by whom? So it was introduced by a specific dynasty, that was, Satavahanas, and then it was followed by other dynasties as well. But here the question is, this method of land grants was being inspired by, being, guided by which of the following factors? One factor is to expand agriculture. Point 2, to increase the sphere of king's influence. Point 3, to intimidate the tribal groups living in the peripheral region. Not, you have written tribals, so better to erase groups. I have simply here instructed tribals, not tribals groups. To intimidate the tribals living in the peripheral region. Means कि एग्रीकल्चर का विस्तार करना, किंग्स के प्रभाव को बढ़ाना और पेरिफेरियल मतलब कि दूरवर्ती क्षेत्रों में निवास करने वाले रहने वाले ट्राइबल्स को डराना. They are the 3 choices. Now we have to find out the actual choice. Choice A 1 only, choice B 1 and 2 only, choice C 1, 2 and 3, and choice D 1 and 3 only.
Mixed responses, or C or B.
No. Choice B. To terrify the tribal people was not the objective of land grants. Previously I have told you that when the Brahmins and Buddhist monks, they were just told to settle in the, and they were supposed to be settled in the peripheral region. After giving them the land grants, they were supposed to develop agriculture, and they had to also supposed to grow and increase the influence of the monarch in the among the tribal people. But if you have to increase the, you can say, and extend the influence, the royal influence in tribal areas, so how can you terrify them? So both are going to be contradictory to each other. अगर आपको अगर प्रभावित करना है ट्राइबल लोगों को, आपको राजा के प्रभाव को ट्राइबल रीजन में बढ़ाना है, तो आप उनको डराओगे नहीं ना. तो ये बात है. एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट आई हैव इन्फॉर्म्ड यू कि द ट्राइबल्स वर रेदर टेम्प्टेड, दे वर टेम्प्टेड बाय द Brahmins to join the Varna system, and even Buddhist monks were just trying to make more disciplined, so that they should be the meek and submissive taxpayers to the state, and they should have adopted agriculture. So they are rather, you can say, they were being influenced by the Aryan culture. They are not getting terrified. So that's why you have to choose here the choice number B 1 and 2 only. Question number 4, assertion and reasoning. In the post-Maurya period, the rulers of different dynasties adopted big titles. Okay? Reasoning, the power and prestige of the kings increased during this period. मतलब post-Maurya के बाद उन्होंने बड़े बड़े उपाधियां ली. And secondly ये है reasoning कि उनके power और prestige में का increasement हुआ. So just try to answer the question, and choices are clear. Be fast. C. Yes, you are correct. C is the correct answer. You are correct. Question number 5. Which of the following factors can be considered as the characteristics of Indian feudalism? And which of the following factors can be considered as the characteristics of Indian feudalism? Point 1, weak position of the king. Point 2, expansion of agrarian economy. Point 3, emergence of intermediaries or middlemen. And point 4, increase in the number of government officers. मतलब आपको यहां पर जो फ्यूडलिज्म है, दे आर द 4 फीचर्स एंड यू हैव टू फाइंड आउट द फीचर्स कि व्हिच ऑफ द फीचर्स वेयर एप्लीकेबल फॉर फ्यूडलिज्म एंड व्हिच नॉट, कि हाउ मेनी ऑफ द स्टेटमेंट्स आर करेक्ट एंड व्हिच ऑफ द फीचर्स आर द, you can say, characteristics of the feudal formation of feudalism. So choice A 1 and 2 only, choice B 2 and 3 only, choice C 1, 2 and 3 only, and choice D 1, 2, 3 and 4. Be fast.
C.
Yes, correct. That is wrong. If the number of government officers increased, it was running counter to the basic characteristic of feudalism. Because whenever there is the feudal formation, it means that now more and more officers had to be replaced by the feudal lords or intermediaries or feudatories. So that is definitely running counter to the basic, but you people are smart enough, intelligent enough and conscious enough to catch it up. The officer known as Akradhyaksha, that is a factual, even information based question. The officer known as Akradhyaksha under the Mauryas was associated with which department? Choice A, pasture land, choice B, mining, choice C, shipbuilding, and choice D, trade. If you are not recalling, so at least you can use your intellectual guess in crude term tukka. So just try to find out. मतलब आप इसको पास्चर लैंड मतलब चारागाह, माइनिंग खनन, शिप बिल्डिंग जहाज निर्माण एंड ट्रेड व्यापार. डी. Not right choice. Once again, take another guess. I am giving the second one chance.
BRS.
Yes, mining. I have given the second chance. In second chance, you have just chosen the right answer. Mining, Khanan. Akradhyaksha was associated with mining. You are right. Now, my students, the question answer session is over. And as earlier, you have performed very well. And so far the question of 1 and 2 mistakes are concerned, that is very natural and human. So you should not get disheartened that I have lost this question or that question. What you have performed, that is much better, and I am just delving into your mind and delving into your knowledge, treasure of knowledge, whenever I have to make you solve the questions, because on the basis of your response I can very well measure the depth of your knowledge. So you are in comfortable position and you are using reasoning. So now up.
So please can you repeat question number 2 once again?
Question 2. Yes. Ashish, possibly you have been caught up into the choice number 3. Ashish, I think. But the presence of Council of Ministers under Maurya, it was a routine feature. And it was the feature of all the age. Starting from Buddha period up to early medieval age, Council of Ministers had to exist everywhere, even in that polity which is based on feudal formation. Council of Ministers was not going to be absent in future. So simply the presence of Council of Ministers was not going to give any assurance. It was moving towards administrative centralization. मतलब केवल कि काउंसिल ऑफ मिनिस्टर्स का प्रेजेंस है, यही सेंट्रलाइजेशन की तरफ नहीं जा रहा.
सर जुमन पूछ रहे हैं कि ask the relationship between feudalism and rise of agriculture.
Yeah. Once again. Juman.
Juman.
Yes. What question?
Okay, sir, please ask the relationship between feudalism and the rise of agriculture.
Yes. Juman, if you may have gone through optional paper, or if you are having history in your university days, so it is correct that feudalism was having some positive aspect as well. And one positive aspect is that intermediaries and feudal lords patronized agriculture, they developed irrigation. So at the time of feudal formation, definitely the agriculture received a boost. The feudal lords were patronizing irrigation, cultivation. They were just getting more and more peasants settled in the land because that was quite beneficial for them. But still this agrarian prosperity could not benefit either the king or the peasants because both were sufferers. Intermediaries were just reaping the profit and they were just, you can say, appropriating the surplus, major part of surplus. Peasants were much burdened as the group of intermediaries existed there and they were exploiting the peasants. And on the other hand, the very meager amount was reaching to the hand of the king as the tax. So most of the surplus was being appropriated by the feudal lords or intermediaries. So that was not beneficial. But after all, you can say it boosted up agriculture. So Juman, I agree with your statement कि feudalism supported agriculture. मतलब जो देखो जो मध्यस्थ बीच वाले थे वो कृषि को, एग्रीकल्चर को पैट्रोनाइज कर रहे थे, इरिगेशन को पैट्रोनाइज कर रहे थे. केवल नुकसान यही था कि उनका जो एग्रीकल्चर से जो सरप्लस आता था वो अधिकांश वो अपने पॉकेट में रख लेते थे, ना तो किंग के पास जा पाता था ना पेजेंट्स के पास जा पाता था. पेजेंट्स पर भी बर्डन था क्योंकि अब इंटरमीडिएट में पता चला ये हुए राजा, ये हुए महाराजा, ये हुए राजाधिराजा, ये हुए मंडलेश्वर, ये हुए सामंत, और एवरी वाज टेकिंग द टैक्सेस. सो पेजेंट्स को 8-8, 10-10 स्टेक होल्डर्स को टैक्स देना पड़ता था. सो इट वाज क्वाइट बर्डनसम फॉर पेजेंट्री.
सर अंशुमन करें कि सर थैंक यू सर, आपसे बहुत मन लगता है पढ़ाई करने में, कभी ऐसा कोई पढ़ाया नहीं.
Okay, Ansu. It actually teaching is just like a passion for me. And in your class, I am also enjoying the fact because you people are quite having an inquisitive mind. You are much curious, and you try to follow me. So that is quite exciting. This is an exciting experience for me also, because once I am just trying to deliver something, and if someone is equally conscious to receive the thing, so that became reciprocal and exciting for both the stakeholders. So the same happened in my case as well. मतलब कि आप जब इसको ग्रहण करते हो, जैसे आप देखो मैं 6 क्वेश्चंस लाता हूं या 5 क्वेश्चंस लाता हूं. जब आप क्वेश्चन को सॉल्व करते हो तो मेरे लिए काफी एक्साइटिंग होता है, क्योंकि आपके क्वेश्चन सॉल्व करने के तरीके से मैं पकड़ लेता हूं कि आप क्या सोच रहे हो, आपकी सही लॉजिक जा रही है कि नहीं, या आप रॉन्ग लॉजिक तो नहीं लगा रहे हो.
निखिल कह रहे हैं सर, व्हाई डिड द मैक्सिमम नंबर किंग टेक विक्रमादित्य एज अ टाइटल, व्हाट वाज द रीजन?
Who has asked this question? Nikhil. Firstly, let me make this question, you can say, let me make this question a common question for all. Nikhil has asked me a question, why did Indian kings prefer to take the title of Vikramaditya time and again? What was the reason behind that? So my friends, for your kind information, in history there are total 14 Vikramaditya in India. And the tradition of Vikramaditya started. Vikramaditya means who was the great victor. The great victor, you can say, who has performed a great conquest. So the first such an episode occurred in 58 BCE, when an Indian king defeated a Shaka king. What was the exact name of Indian king, that is not clear, whatever may be. He defeated a Shaka king, the king from Shaka dynasty. And after this victory, in order to commemorate this victory, he himself took the title like Vikramaditya. And I have told you earlier, कि विक्रम era started right from the time Shaka era and Vikram era. Once question I have asked you, what was the time difference between Shaka era and Vikram era, which was, this question was once posed to students in UP examination, and you people have replied my question at that time. I am recalling 78 plus, because this 57, actually in 58 BC that actual victory occurred, actual victory took place. But now this time, like the Vikram era, started to be calculated from 57 BC itself. So that was going to be calculated from 57 BC itself. मतलब 57 BC से ही वो काउंट कर लेते हैं. तो विक्रमादित्य वहां से शुरू हुआ. उसके बाद इन हिस्ट्री, इन इंडियन हिस्ट्री टोटल 14 विक्रमादित्य. इवन हेमचंद्र was the fought a decisive battle against Akbar in the battle of Panipat, second battle of Panipat. You have heard the name. So even the Hemu himself took the title like Vikramaditya.
So how counter of decentralization become possible when divine kingship came into existence?
Once please.
Sir, how counter of decentralization?
Counter of decentralization means?
Question to you.
Who has raised this question? Shailesh, you have raised one question. Yes, speak, Mr. Ankur.
How counter of decentralization become possible when divine kingship came into
How
existence?
counter of decentralization became possible
When divine kingship came into existence.
Ansul. Shailesh, your question has not been clear to me. Please try to clarify this question a bit more. मतलब मेरा क्वेश्चन मुझे क्लियर नहीं हो सका कि आप जानना क्या चाहते हो. आपने काउंटर शब्द का यूज किया है, थोड़ा इसको और भी क्लैरिफाई करके भेजना, मैं इसको बता दूंगा.
सर आशुतोष कह रहे हैं कि सर हिस्टोरिक पीरियड में प्रॉब्लम होती है, भूल जाता हूँ बार बार.
हिस्टोरिक पीरियड में आशुतोष, बीइंग माय स्टूडेंट्स, इफ यू आर गोइंग टू फॉरगेटिंग, सो इट इज ए चैलेंज फॉर मी. हिस्टोरिकल पीरियड में मतलब कौन सा पीरियड में?
क्वेश्चन ये.
Who has asked this question? Ashutosh, do you mean by Vedic period, Buddha age, Maurya period, post-Maurya period, Gupta period, post-Gupta period, and early medieval age? I have divided this period and I have given you the time period. So do you forget the time period and division? Please, all of you, inform me. Are you recalling the time period as well as the division of history from Vedic period to early medieval age, or do you find any difficulty? Please inform me. Please inform me. I am waiting for your answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So Ashutosh, please go through time and again and give some time for intellectual fermentation. If you are doing the intellectual fermentation, जिसको मैं बौद्धिक जुगाली कहता हूं, तो फिर आप नहीं फॉरगेट करोगे, अदरवाइज आप कर जाओगे.
उनका कहना है कि कह रहे हैं कि हिस्टोरिक पीरियड से पहले का.
हाँ, पहले का. वंस अगेन रिवाइज. हिस्टोरिक पीरियड से प्री हिस्टोरिक. आई एम रिकॉलिंग. That is Paleolithic period, lakhs of years earlier, lakhs of years. That is uncountable. Nearly 5 lakhs years back to 10,000 BC. Mesolithic 10,000 BC to 6,000 BC. Neolithic from 3,500 BC, but I have left it open-ended. No, sorry, from 6,000 BC and I have left it open-ended. Then Chalcolithic period starting from 3,500 BC, I have left it open-ended. Then Harappan civilization 2,600 BC to 1,900 BC, and late Harappan culture 1,900 BC to 1,300 BC, and other Chalcolithic cultures 1,900 BC to 1,000 BC, and Iron Age from 1,000 BC, and Iron Age when they were started. So then PGW culture entered into Iron Age, Megalithic culture entered into Iron Age, and NBPW culture started in Iron Age itself. So these are the informations.
Sir, I used to question, sir, each police is in Maurya administration.
There is one officer that is called Pulisani, but it was not exactly the police. About the presence of police, that is not clear. Likewise, during Maurya period, whether there was a postal system, even that was not clear.
Okay, sir.
Now I am coming to this Gupta period. Previously I have told you. Just 1 minute. Post Maurya. Oh. Post Maurya. Gupta age. So, yesterday's class I might have done it. Where is my yesterday's work, Mr. Ankur?
Wait, that's lost.
Yes, that is. My students, in yesterday's class, I have made you clear. Once again, I am repeating here, and you people will be just clear. Gupta period. Here, king, pompous titles. That is the common feature from post-Maurya period onwards, and that had to continue up to early medieval age. So you have to continue with the period. Then I have told you the king's claim for divinity and divine right of kingship and the king's claim for divinity. You can say कि Samudragupta in Harishen in his Allahabad inscription, or in today you can say Prayag eulogy. Eulogy means कि तारीफ, जिसको प्रशंसा कहते हो. तो हरिसेन in his Prayag eulogy, मतलब अपने प्रयाग प्रशस्ति में, he tried to compare Samudragupta with the 4 important gods. These gods were Indra, Varuna, Yama and Kuber. मतलब कि इंद्र, वरुण और यम और कुबेर से उसने तुलना की हरिसेन ने समुद्रगुप्त की. So that is giving a hint towards divine right of kingship, or the kings was attributed some element of divinity. Then you are coming to central administration study. I have made you clear कि during Gupta period the number of officers declined or number of officers increased. My students, yesterday after finishing your class, I have realized one thing कि possibly some of you are confused about the fact if the number of officers would be reduced, so that will lead to centralization for the fact you mean by centralization कि the king was acquiring too much power, and if the number of officers would increase, so they would share into the power of the king, so this was growing decentralization. मैं फिर हिंदी में बोल देता हूं ताकि मेरे इंग्लिश वाले बच्चे समझ लें. मैंने कल मैं जब क्लास आपका फिनिश करके जब मैं निकला तो मुझे डाउट हुआ कि आप में से कुछ लोग इस कंफ्यूजन में हो कि जब नंबर ऑफ ऑफिसर्स ज्यादा होता है तो एक किंग, तो डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन का ये फीचर है, क्योंकि आप सेंट्रलाइजेशन का मतलब शायद लगा रहे हो कि सेंटर जो अपने पावर को बहुत पास में रखेगा तो सेंट्रलाइजेशन है, लेकिन जब ज्यादा ऑफिसर्स को अपॉइंट करेगा तो वो पावर ऑफिसर्स के पास चला जाएगा तो डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन हो जाएगा, ऐसा शायद आपको लगता है. लेकिन नो, पहले आप इस मिसकॉन्सेप्शन को रिमूव करिए. मैं आपको बताऊं कि किंग खुद अकेली बदौलत शासन नहीं करेगा. जो किंग रूल करेगा वो वो ब्यूरोक्रेसी की बदौलत करता है. सो व्हेन द सिस्टम वाज गोइंग टू बी टू मच ब्यूरोक्रेटाइज्ड, सो इट वाज डेफिनेटली लीडिंग टुवर्ड्स सेंट्रलाइजेशन. ब्यूरोक्रेटाइजेशन मींस सेंट्रलाइजेशन, एंड decentralization means you are just devolving the power to the local administration, to the provincial administration, and there were the regional stakeholders and they are getting share into the power. So that is the case of decentralization or the decline of centralization. Decline of centralization is a negative term and decentralization is a positive term, whatever you like. तो मतलब ये नहीं होता है अगर आप नौकरशाही को ज्यादा प्रबल बनाते हो, अगर नंबर ऑफ ऑफिसर्स को बढ़ाते हो, तो इसका मतलब किंग का पावर बढ़ रहा है और ब्यूरोक्रेसी मजबूत हो रही है, तो सेंट्रलाइजेशन हो रहा है। और जब आप ऑफिसर्स के नंबर्स को कम करते हो, तो इसका मतलब सेंट्रलाइजेशन का डिक्लाइन हो रहा है। तो इन कंपेरिजन टू मौर्य पीरियड, यू विल फाइंड द डिक्लाइनिंग नंबर ऑफ ऑफिसर्स ड्यूरिंग गुप्ता पीरियड। I have mentioned about the name of officers and their duties in the yesterday's class, and you people are possibly clear. Kumaramatya was the highest group of officers. Then I have told you that is Shandhi Vigrahaka, that was the external affairs. Then Dandanayaka and Mahadandanayaka, that was the dispensing of justice, and Baladhikrita and Mahabaladhikrita, they are just leading the army, so they are military commanders. And Pratihara, he was the head of the palace guards. And then you know विनय स्थिति स्थापका, तो विनय स्थिति स्थापक है, उसके बारे में कहा जाता है he was a religious officer. So in this way, then I have told you कि the post of the officer was going to be hereditary, and one officer was getting more than one post. So it amply shows that now officers were going to be vested interest, and officers are going to be more entrenched, more powerful. It means that they could challenge the king in future. So it is symbolizing some sort of feudalization of bureaucracy, or the beginning of feudalization of bureaucracy. But one thing is clear: during Gupta period, the officers were not paid through land grants. This tradition has to, and this you can say this tradition or this sort of system had to start from post Gupta period, which I will inform you later. Presently, officers are paid through cash or money, because the Gupta kings could have issued the largest number of gold coins. A substantial part of gold coins was spent over giving salary to officers. So officers were the well salaried, and they were given salary in the form of cash. तो गुप्ता पीरियड में लैंड ग्रांट्स ऑफिसर्स को देने का झमेला नहीं है, लेकिन हाँ एक चीज है, कैश सैलरी है. बट ड्यूरिंग गुप्ता पीरियड यू फाइंड कि ग्रेजुअली द centralization was going to be affected for the fact, because in previous period, because you know, whenever I am just going to ask you when did land grants start, you will definitely select post Maurya period, and Satavahana kings are given the first credit for that. But during post Gupta period, during post Maurya period, the grants were the religious grants, you know, and it is true, and the grantees were simply given the right to collect the tax. The grantees were nothing to do with the administration. मतलब मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि पोस्ट मौर्य पीरियड में मैंने आपको बताया कि ब्राह्मण्स प्रिस्ट को और बुद्धिस्ट मॉन्क्स को लैंड ग्रांट्स मिलना है, लेकिन जो लैंड ग्रांट्स उनको मिलने हैं वो मतलब उनको सिर्फ ग्रांटीज को, जो लैंड ग्रांट जिनको मिलता है, उनका काम है कि अपना वो रेवेन्यू ले. इसमें स्टेट जो लैंड ग्रांट देता है कैसे, जैसे सपोज करो आई एम गिविंग यू सम एग्जांपल कि यू आर हैविंग दिस सॉर्ट ऑफ लैंड ग्रांट्स, यू नो. तो अब हियर यू नो कि दिस लैंड ग्रांट्स हैज बीन गिवन टू यू. सो नॉर्मली द किंग यूज्ड टू गिव यू द ग्रांट्स दैट वाज द हाफ कल्टिवेटेड लैंड and half uncultivated land. It is just an incentive for the state, because you are supposed to develop this uncultivated land while just you can say getting the new peasants settled here. They might be tribal people. तो आप इनको यहां पर सेटल कर दोगे तो ये धीरे धीरे आबाद हो जाएंगे, लेकिन ये पहले से ही यहां पर पेजेंट्स खेती कर रहे हैं. तो आपको ग्रांट मिला, इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि जो ऑलरेडी जो कल्टीवेटेड लैंड है तो वो तो लैंड में पेजेंट्स ऑलरेडी सेटल है, तो आपको लैंड ग्रांट्स मिला. इसका मतलब ये है कि पहले जो पेजेंट्स 1/6 अपना रेवेन्यू का 1/6 पार्ट अपने रेवेन्यू का स्टेट को देते थे, अब नाउ दे विल ट्रांसफर दिस रेवेन्यू टू यू, नथिंग मोर. सो फार द क्वेश्चन ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इज कंसर्न्ड, तो अब एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन आपको नहीं मिलेगा. bureaucracy is already there. The state was running the administration at its own. You are simply the beneficiaries of revenue and you have to take the revenue and go away. That's all. But during Gupta period, there was a new edition. Now, from 5th century onwards, the grantees were even offered to carry the administration in the region. And you can very well suppose this is the grantee number A, and earlier it was simply a beneficiary of revenue. He was a beneficiary of revenue, but now he was given the assignment of administration as well. So definitely he was going to be too much strengthened in the region and he might rise as a vested interest. अब मान लीजिए पहले ग्रांटी था, उसको आप कहते थे कि भाई आप रेवेन्यू कलेक्ट करिए, आप यहां से रेवेन्यू लीजिए और जाइए, बस कुछ नहीं करना आपको। अब उसको अगर आपने प्रशासन का राइट भी दे दिया, तब तो किसानों को दबाएगा, उसको सप्रेस करेगा और फिर वो एक्सप्लॉयटेशन होगा। तो ये फ्यूडल फॉर्मेशन का पहला स्टेप मतलब हो जाएगा, क्योंकि अब वो वहां पर वेस्टेड इंटरेस्ट हो जाएगा। सो इट ग्रेजुअली यू कैन से कि लैंड ग्रांट्स वाज गोइंग टू टेक a slightly negative form in course of time. So in Gupta period, one addition is, even Fayan has mentioned that all the peasants are not giving the tax to the king, but only those peasants were giving the tax to the king who are cultivating the estate's land. So in this way you can say that while quoting Fayan, R.S. Sharma has tried to prove that, the historian, it means that a substantial number of peasants during Gupta period, they were giving the tax to intermediaries like grantees. तो grantees का power इस समय थोड़ा बढ़ा है. I think you people may be clear. If any confusion you are having, you can ask me the question. I am here to help you. तो ये आपको फीचर मिलता है. तो थोड़ा सा grantees means कि the grants, those who are the beneficiary of grants. So grantees were given the right of administration as well. Administration as well. Okay. So that is the point here. Next you have to move further. You have to move further, you know. Ab, this is all about the central administration, you know. Ab, administration was divided into provinces. That was divided into province. A province was called Bhukti. Bhukti. On Bhukti, there was an officer that was called Uparika. You will find out the two terms, Uparika or Uparika Maharaja. Uparika और Uparika Maharaja. अब देखो उपरिका महाराजा उनको बोलते हो प्रोविंशियल एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर को, तो इसका मतलब है वो पहले से ज्यादा पावरफुल है, नंबर वन. Number two, you are supposed to make a comparison with the Maurya administration. In Maurya, in provincial administration, you find that there was an officer Kumara. But how many checks were placed on Kumara, you know? The Council of Ministers could have directly sent the information, sensitive information to the central government. So in case of Kumara, those too many checks were there. But what about this Uparika? No check at all. And the Uparika was going to be much powerful than Kumara during Maurya period. तो यहाँ पर सेंट्रलाइजेशन का ह्रास हो रहा है, डिक्लाइन हो रहा है. तो प्रोविंस में जो उपरिका है वो ज्यादा पावरफुल है. देन यू आर कमिंग टू डिस्ट्रिक्ट. डिस्ट्रिक्ट वाज कॉल्ड विषय. ओके, तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट वाज कॉल्ड विषय एंड देयर वाज एन ऑफिसर इन डिस्ट्रिक्ट. Two types of officers you can say. Either the officer was Kumara Matya as the district head. Either you will find the name of Kumara Matya. Up, you should not get confused. Kumara Matya was the name of the highest officers as well, and even the district officer was called Kumara Matya or Vishayapati. So the head of the district was known as either Kumara Matya or Vishayapati. But one thing is clear. In comparison to Maurya period, in Gupta period, there was the local elements were given primacy in administration, because at the level of district, you can say there was a district council. You will find here there was the district council, and in the district council you will find the name of an officer, and so not name of officer, district council, that was known as Vishay Adhikaran. विषय अधिकरण मतलब डिस्ट्रिक्ट के लेवल पर जब आप आते हो तो वहां पर एक परिषद होती थी, डिस्ट्रिक्ट काउंसिल यानी डिस्ट्रिक्ट जिला परिषद, और उसमें लोकल एलिमेंट्स को कहीं ना कहीं तरजीह दी जाती थी, महत्व दिया जाता था, क्योंकि वहां पर काउंसिल में लोकल एलिमेंट्स को रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिया जाता था। तो इसका मतलब है कि यह सेंट्रलाइजेशन का यहां ह्रास है या डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन है, ये भी डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन की तरफ दिखाता है। और अब नेक्स्ट वन आप देखिए, नेक्स्ट वन, तो डिस्ट्रिक्ट के नीचे यू विल फाइंड अ ग्रुप ऑफ विलेजेज, a group of villages. Here you will observe as a group of villages, you will come to realize that what is this group of villages? So that was called Vithi. Group of villages was called Vithi. So Vithi was ruled by an officer, and his name was Vithi Mahamatya. Vithi was ruled by an officer and his name was Vithi Mahamatya. But here here also you'll find a local council at Vithi. So this local council was known as Vithi Parishad. Vithi Parishad. मतलब जैसे आपने डिस्ट्रिक्ट में देखा कि एक डिस्ट्रिक्ट विषय अधिकरण था जो डिस्ट्रिक्ट के लेवल पर, उसी तरह से विथी डिस्ट्रिक्ट के नीचे का यूनिट है। जैसे वहां पर आपको याद है गोप था, जहां वहां पर विथी महात्मा है, और उसकी जगह फिर एक काउंसिल है, लोकल काउंसिल है। इसमें जो पेजेंट्स है लोकल और लोकल लैंडलॉर्ड्स हैं, उनको महत्तर, यानी महत्तर मतलब हेड ऑफ द विलेज को महत्तर, मुखिया को महत्तर बोलते थे गुप्ता पीरियड में। तो हेड ऑफ द विलेज यानी महत्तर, और कुटुम्बिन कहते थे कल्टीवेटर्स को, जो कॉमन पेजेंट्स उनको कुटुम्बिन बोलते थे, और हेड ऑफ विलेज को महत्तर बोलते थे। सो इन दिस विथी काउंसिल यू विल फाइंड द रिप्रेजेंटेशन ऑफ कुटुम्बिन एंड महत्तरा, सो लोकल एलिमेंट्स। एंड देन यू विल कम टू नो कि विलेज वॉज द लोएस्ट यूनिट ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, एंड एट द लेवल ऑफ विलेज so at the level of village you will come to know कि there was an officer, head of the village was Mahattara. And here I have to inform you that during Gupta period the village administration became too much prominent. Three factors. First one, कि the Sreni means guilds and corporations. Guilds was the, you can say, guild was the council of artisans, and corporation was a council of merchants. So at that time the state gave too much discretionary power to council. The state gave too much discretionary power to guilds and corporations in administration, and state gave too much power to caste panchayat. Caste panchayat was given the power by state, and even the village head Mahattara was enjoying the power. If there was the land grant or a transfer of land from one stakeholder to another, so it was not possible without the approval from Mahattara. मतलब कि एक तरफ स्टेट ने श्रेणी को और निगम को, व्यापारियों के निगम को भी एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में रोल दे दिया, कास्ट जो जाति पंचायत था उसको रोल दे दिया, और जो 72 है वो भी पावरफुल हो गया। तो गुप्ता के टाइम में सेंट्रलाइजेशन का ह्रास हो रहा है, डिक्लाइन हो रहा है। एंड वन थिंग आई हैव टू इन्फॉर्म यू because when we are just moving vertically, so central administration, provincial administration, district administration and local administration and village administration, but horizontally you have to observe that there was town as well. अब ये town might be at the level of province, town might be at the level of district, so it was very difficult to place the town in the total vertical hierarchy. So that's why I have separated here. So town means nagar, एंड एवरी नगर में एक तरह से नगर काउंसिल होती थी। नगर का जो काउंसिल होती थी, जो टाउन काउंसिल होती थी, उससे गाइडेड होता था। टाउन का जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन होता था ये टाउन काउंसिल से गाइडेड होता था। इसको बोलते थे, टाउन काउंसिल वाज कॉल्ड अधिस्थानाधिकरण। अधिस्थानाधिकरण, अधिस्थानाधिकरण। और अधिस्थानाधिकरण में 4 तरह की, इन माई स्टडी मटेरियल यू विल फाइंड, नो प्रॉब्लम एट ऑल। Simply I am discussing so that you will be mentally alert and find it out. At the level of Adhisthanadhikaran, you will find 4 types of representatives. One is known as Nagar Shreshthi. Nagar Shreshthi means the head of the finance in the town. The head of the finance in the town, that is called Nagar Shreshthi. Shreshthi. The second one name you find Sarthavaha. Sarthavaha was the head of the merchants. Then third one name is Pratham Kulika. Pratham Kulika means ki the head of scribe. Scribe means ki, not scribe. Pratham Kulika means the head of artisans. Pratham Kulika means head of artisans, and then Pratham Kaist. प्रथम कायस्थ था, कायस्थ, so that is the head of scribe, मतलब लिपिक, जैसे क्लर्क है उसका प्रधान। ये 4 तरह के लोग थे, नगर श्रेष्ठी, सार्थवा, प्रथम कुलिका एंड प्रथम कायस्थ। उनको अधिस्थानाधिकरण जो नगर में संस्था होती थी उसमें इनको रिप्रेजेंटेशन दिया जाता था। तो ये हो गया ओवरऑल गुप्ता एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन। नाउ वी आर सपोज टू मूव टू पोस्ट गुप्ता एंड देन अर्ली मिडिवल एज। नो एनी मेजर डिफरेंस because the features are already there, and the same features are going to be more pronounced, more deeper, more, you can say, intense during post Gupta period and early medieval age. Post Gupta period. Okay. Now in post Gupta period you will come to realize one thing. Here you find king. Okay. 2 common features please write down. One common feature is pompous titles. Pompous titles was very obvious, because more and more intermediaries and stockholders, subordinate kings, so they had already been existing under the monarch, under a king. So it was imperative for the king to take the pompous title to distinguish his position from his subordinates. So that's why pompous titles were already in use. मतलब कि वो भारी भरकम उपाधियां नहीं लेता तो अपने से छोटे राजा और सामंतों से अपनी स्थिति वो कैसे अलग कर पाता। Second one, you can say divinity, claim to divinity, means this is also a common feature up to early medieval age, no problem. Up in central administration, about the officers you say, just inform me, please. I am asking you one question. What do you think? The number of officers during post Gupta period should be increased or decreased in comparison to Gupta period? If the number of officers during post Gupta period had to increase or increased, so please type 1. And if the number of officers during post Gupta period had to decrease, so please type 2. Just inform me.
Decreased.
decreased. अब you people have been already caught up this thing, क्योंकि देखो अब जब growing federalization होगा तो number of officers कम होगा.
साइड में लिखो, सेंटर में.
अच्छा अच्छा. The number of officers had to decrease.
सर उषा पूछ रही है कि सर if Kumaratma was highest official, then how Uparika can choose him?
Usha, your question is quite valid because the term Kumara or the name of the officer Kumara has been used twice and at two different levels. Because at the one level I have told you in Gupta period, the highest officers, the group of highest officers were known as Kumara Matyas. And then just not Kumara, Usha, you have to use the term Kumara Matya. And then I have again informed you that at district level, at the head of the district, there was the name of the officer either Kumara Matya or Vishapati. So if you get confusion, so this confusion is quite natural. I'm not making any complaint against that. But here I am having my own limitation here, so I am just, you can say, suggesting you to ignore this phenomena because both the Kumara Matya is different. Kumara Matya is the highest officers, and even Uparika might have been fielded from the level of Kumara Matya itself, because if Kumara Matya is the highest group of officers, so all the higher post might have been graced by Kumara Matya. So district headship was also might have graced by Kumara Matya, but it was a matter of chance कि on provincial level you are using the term Uparika, but at the district level you are using the term Kumara Matya. तो ये कंफ्यूजन आपको इसलिए पैदा हो रहा है. अन्यथा मैं ऐसा मानकर चलता हूं कि कुमारा मात्या ही वो हाईएस्ट ऑफिसर्स है जिससे अपॉइंटमेंट प्रोविंस में भी हो रहा होगा और जिससे अपॉइंटमेंट डिस्ट्रिक्ट में भी हो रहा होगा.
सर आंसर करेंगे सर. डू वी हैव टू रिमेंबर दिस हायरार्किकल ऑर्डर ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन? Ansal, actually, my counter question to you people, Ansal has asked me a question, is it essential for remember the hierarchy of the officers here, you know? Ansal, I am having the counter question. You people might have realized one thing, whenever I will teaching you whatever with the length of the text may be, but I am never getting support from anything, whether it may be paper, although I am online, so that is not visible. You may be a bit confused. I could have taken support from somewhere. So for your information, and believe me, I am just teaching you and delivering you everything from my memory, nothing else. It became possible due to the fact that with curiosity I have observed the thing. हम तुमको अपनी तरीका क्यों बता रहे हैं? क्योंकि हमें आज तक चीजों को, अब तो देखो, अब थोड़ा सा एज का भी तकाजा है कि पहले जितनी इंटेंसिटी के साथ चीजें मेमोराइज, अब क्या है कि वर्क भी ज्यादा है. आई एम गोइंग थ्रू द सो मेनी बुक्स, यू नो, सो ऑब्वियसली यू कैन से कि दीज आर गोइंग टू बी इवेपोरेटेड. बट व्हेन आई वाज इन योर एज, so it was easy for me to recollect the idea in my memory than in writing. And it was simply possible because you are observing the things with curiosity. Ansal, I am really surprised that you people have to memorize the hierarchy. Why? You start to think from Vedic period to early medieval age and make a revision twice and thrice. And for the nearly 1 week, you have to make the more than one revision. And then please give the time for intellectual fermentation every day, 20-25 minutes और half an hour. दिन भर तुम जितना पढ़ते हो उसको कहीं बैठकर तुम एक एक रिकॉल करना शुरू करो कि आज हमने क्या क्या पढ़ा है. और you have to take your notebook there. And whatever you are forgetting in the mid course, you have to open the page, read it, cover the page, and once again start to think afresh from the beginning. And you will find here the miraculous effect. Your memory was going to increase. जैसे आप मान लो हमारा हाथ अगर वीक होता है तो हम इसका क्या रास्ता निकालेंगे? हम डंबल करेंगे या हम कोई वजनदार चीजें उठाएंगे, एक्सरसाइज करेंगे हैंड का, तो हाथ मजबूत होगा.
तो दिमाग में जो चीज याद नहीं रहती है तो इसकी भी मेमोरी अनलिमिटेड है, माइंड पावर बहुत अनलिमिटेड है। गैरी कास्पारोव जो ही वाज द चेस प्लेयर, जब सुपर कंप्यूटर पहली बार आया था तो ही टोल्ड दैट कि आई कैन नेवर टॉलरेट द आइडिया अ सुपर कंप्यूटर बीइंग मोर इंटेलिजेंट देन ह्यूमन बीइंग, एंड ही कुड फाइट अ मैच with computer, supercomputer, and he defeated supercomputer. क्योंकि सुपर कंप्यूटर में है कि उस गलती नहीं करता, लेकिन सुपर कंप्यूटर उतना ह्यूमन माइंड का रिप्लेसमेंट भी नहीं कर सकता। तो हमारा जो ह्यूमन माइंड है ना बहुत पावरफुल है, इवन आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस भी अभी पूरी तरह हमें रिप्लेस नहीं कर पाएगा। आप चैट जीपीटी को भी देखो तो बहुत सारे ऐसे जो अप्लाइड क्वेश्चन जो आपको अप्लाइड या अंडरस्टैंडिंग वाले क्वेश्चन होगा उसमें वो सॉरी बोल देगा। दे कैन सिंपली प्रोसेस डेटा एंड जो डेटाज आर अवेलेबल, बट इट कैनॉट थिंक लाइक ह्यूमन बीइंग। तो तुम अगर थिंकिंग क्रिएचर हो तो ये मुद्दा ही क्यों उठता है कि मैं इसको मेमोराइज करूं या नहीं करूं, तो नेचुरल फॉर्म में आना चाहिए। और केवल हिस्ट्री ही नहीं, सारे सब्जेक्ट की बात मैं कर रहा हूं। So this one, and officers has 2 number of degrees, you know, so that is, and one important thing, Mr. Ankur, should I move further?
Yes.
Now question is कि in post Gupta period means कि at the time of Harshvardhana or in Pallava and Chalukya in South India they belong to post Gupta period. One important thing is कि earlier the actually कि king was under Guptas, the king was having the control over the main areas and feudatories or the feudal lords, what you know as. So they had to be, the feudatories or the subordinate kings had to be installed in the peripheral region. But during post Gupta period means कि under Harsha, even in the main region, the feudatories could have been installed, even in the main region, central region. The feudatories or the subordinate kings had to be installed. मतलब गुप्ता में क्या था कि दूरवर्ती क्षेत्रों में सामंतों या जो अधीन शासक थे उनको इंस्टॉल किया जाता था। इसमें तो मेन सेंट्रल रीजन में इंस्टॉल किया जाने लगा। सो यू फाइंड द डिफरेंस बिटवीन द टू। And last but not the least, you know, कि the same decentralization process in post-Gupta period is visible. And one important thing, now in post-Gupta period, the officers started to be paid through land grants. Started to be paid through land grants. मतलब अधिकारियों को गुप्ता पीरियड तक कैश में सैलरी दी जाती थी, अब लैंड ग्रांट्स में उनको पेमेंट किया जाने लगा। सो दैट इज ऑल अबाउट पोस्ट गुप्ता पीरियड। एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इसमें बहुत क्लियर गुप्ता की तरह नहीं है, लेकिन वही ढांचा है, डिसेंट्रलाइजेशन है, ऑफिसर्स को लैंड ग्रांट्स में पे किया जाता है और फ्यूडल लॉर्ड्स को मेन एरिया में एस्टेब्लिश किया जाता है। देन यू ऑब्जर्व हियर, जस्ट 1 minute. अब नाउ लास्ट अर्ली मेडिवल। देखो द सेम 2 features once again you have to repeat. One is here king, pompous titles. Council of Ministers are in all the ages. In all the ages you will find the presence of Council of Ministers. It was no one is exception. Pompous titles. Then you know, claim to divinity.
claim to divinity. अब here you are informed that such a pompous title kings prefer at that time. You will find here Prithviraj Chauhan, you might have heard the name Rai Pithora. So he even made a claim for a title like Bharateshwara, mean Ishwar, God of Bharat. And he took the title like Bharateshwara, such a pompous title, you know. So it was very natural at that time the kings were taking the pompous titles and they continued to compare themselves with God. That is the two common features. मतलब कि वो देवता का स्थान लेने की कोशिश करते थे और वो बड़ी भारी भरकम उपाधियां लेते थे. Then you can see central administration, you know, that is bureaucracy, you know. So in the central administration you will come to know that is officers. So here you find one thing. Now there was the feudalization of bureaucracy. Feudalization of bureaucracy in that sense. Here you find the feudalization of bureaucracy. Why? The feudalization of bureaucracy for the fact that two processes were going on. On the one hand, some feudal lords were offered the official post. So as the official post was graced by feudal lords, so it was the example of feudalization of bureaucracy. One example. Second one, कि some bureaucrats or some officers became so powerful कि they compelled the king to give them the feudal title. So some officers were making the claim for a feudal status and some feudal lords started to grace the post of an officer. So both the processes of going on, so that led to feudalization of administration. Feudalization of administration. Second thing you find, normally we are dealing with the topic in North India, so that was Pratihara king, Pala king and Rajputa kings. So they divided their region in two parts. One part was, you can say, that was crown land. Crown land means कि राजा का land. Crown land means कि ये राज्य का direct control में जो land था उसको crown land कहोगे. And the rest of the part was just divided in the form of jagirs. The rest of the part was divided in the forms of jagirs. And the jagirs were given to jagirdars. Means that they were divided in the form of land grants. And most of the grants were given to military officers. Actually, the Rajput kings, Pratihara kings, etc., so they used to make the 16 villages or its multiples clubbed together. For example, 16, 32, 64, etc. So it might be the number of villages. And then villages had to be given in the form of land grants to the feudal lords or the military officers. So from 10th century onwards, military grants became too much prominent, you know, military grants, you know. So this was the growing feudalization of administration. And from 5th century onwards, 5th century and 13th century, a larger part or the major grants could have been given to the temples and monasteries. Temples मंदिरों को और monasteries मठों को. मतलब एक तो देखो ये जो किंग थे, राजपूत किंग थे और प्रतिहारा किंग थे, वो क्या करते थे, अपने विलेजेज को 16 से 32, 64 इस तरह से डिवाइड कर देते थे, 64, 32 एटसेट्रा, उसको क्लब करके और अपने ब्लड रिलेशन के लोगों को जागीर के रूप में दे देते थे, मैंने लैंड ग्रांट्स के रूप में, और बदले में उससे मिलिट्री सर्विस लेते थे। तो 10th सेंचुरी ऑनवर्ड्स के बाद जो लैंड ग्रांट्स का नंबर है वो बहुत मल्टीप्लाई कर गया, और उनका जो लैंड ग्रांट्स का नंबर जो मल्टीप्लाई कर रहा है, दैट बिकेम अ मेजर फैक्टर बिहाइंड द फ्यूडलाइजेशन। टेम्पल्स को भी लैंड ग्रांट्स दिया जा रहा है। Whenever I will teach you economy, I will make you clear। अभी तो इकोनॉमी पर मैं आऊंगा। तो जो फ्यूडलाइजेशन हो रहा है उसमें एक फैक्टर इकोनॉमी भी काम कर रही है। कैसे? तो आर.एस. शर्मा ने जो फ्यूडल फॉर्मेशन का को एक्सप्लेन किया है, या उसको मतलब उन्होंने इंटरप्रेट करने की कोशिश की है, सो आर.एस. शर्मा हैज ट्राइड टू लिंक द ग्रोइंग फ्यूडलाइजेशन विद द डिक्लाइन ऑफ ट्रेड एंड कॉमर्स एंड द एंड ऑफ गुप्ता पीरियड। So this decline of trade and commerce, according to R.S. Sharma, led to the scarcity of or paucity of coins. So as there was the paucity of coins, so earlier the officers were given the salary in the form of cash. But as there was the paucity of coins, so now they were paid through land grants. And gradually the process of land grants multiplied. So here I have to inform you कि in fact whenever you talk about the feudal formation, कि भाई ये कैसे आया पूरे एंशिएंट टाइम में, ये आर.एस. शर्मा के हिस्टोग्राफी के अनुसार जो फ्यूडल फॉर्मेशन है वो कैसे हुआ, तो इसकी निम्नलिखित व्याख्या दी जाती है। वन है कि द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ धर्मा विजय, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ धर्मा विजय, द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ धर्मा विजय। नहीं, पहले इसको शुरू करते हैं। ऐसे देखो, पहले द बिगिनिंग ऑफ लैंड ग्रांट्स, द बिगिनिंग ऑफ लैंड ग्रांट्स मतलब सबसे पहले भूमि अनुदान का आरंभ हुआ। दे स्टार्टेड टू गिव द लैंड ग्रांट, सो इंटरमीडियरीज बिकेम पावरफुल इन कोर्स ऑफ टाइम। सो द फर्स्ट प्रोसेस। सेकेंड वन प्रोसेस इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ धर्मा विजय। द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ धर्मा विजय। अब व्हाट इज द कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ धर्मा विजय? आई हैव ऑलरेडी मेड यू अंडरस्टैंड दिस पॉइंट। मैंने प्रीवियस टॉपिक में आपको मौर्य पोस्ट मौर्य पीरियड में एक चीज बताया था, याद करिए, कि शका, कुशाना और शातवाहना रूलर्स ने इंडियन रूलर्स को डिफीट किया, लेकिन डिफीट करके उसको एलिमिनेट नहीं किया, बल्कि उसको सबऑर्डिनेट किंग्स के रूप में बने रहने दिया। तो सबऑर्डिनेट किंग्स के रूप में बने रहने दिया तो क्या हुआ कि दे बिकेम टू मच पावरफुल। मैंने किंग के अंदर किंग, तो उसी में मैंने महाराजा और राजा की बात बताई थी। आई हैव टोल्ड यू कि इन फैक्ट द सबऑर्डिनेट किंग्स वर अलाउड टू, according to the concept of dharma vijay, कि this subordinate king was supposed to give the tax or revenue and give to the superior king, and the superior king had to patronize this subordinate king. So some sort of hierarchical relationship just cropped up, so it led to feudalization in course of time. तो ये दूसरा वाला मैंने बताया। तीसरा मैंने आपको देखना है कि डिक्लाइन ऑफ ट्रेड, डिक्लाइन ऑफ ट्रेड, टाउन एंड पॉसिटी ऑफ क्वाइंस। मतलब व्यापार का पतन हुआ, नगर का पतन हुआ और सिक्कों की कमी पड़ गई। सो इट वॉज गोइंग टू इंटेंसिफाई द केस ऑफ द लैंड ग्रांट्स। It was going to intensify the case of land grants as there was a decline of trade, towns and paucity of coins. And whenever you observe the point number 4, so you'll come to realize that is foreign invasion. Foreign invasion, Huna invasion at the time of Gupta period, at the end of Gupta period, Huna invasion, and later Turkish invasion. सो ये 4 फैक्टर्स है जिसने फ्यूडल फॉर्मेशन पर ये किया। तो एक बात ध्यान कर लेना, जब फ्यूडलिज्म की हिस्टोग्राफी की बात आती है तो डिक्लाइन ऑफ ट्रेड टाउन्स एंड पॉसिटी ऑफ कॉइन्स माने स्कार्सिटी ऑफ कॉइन्स एक कॉमन फीचर माना जाता है फ्यूडलिज्म के साथ, इंडियन फ्यूडलिज्म के साथ। तो और एक फीचर और भी है, बट आपको उसमें मैं, क्योंकि आपका तो जीएस के लिए थोड़ा जानना है, तो आई हैव नॉट टू कॉम्प्लिकेट द थिंग्स फॉर यू पीपल। जैसे यूरोप में जो फ्यूडलिज्म आया था, तो यूरोप का जो फ्यूडलिज्म है उसका कंडीशन दूसरा है। वहां पर क्या हुआ था कि आपको मार्क्सिज्म तो मैंने आपको वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री में समझाया हुआ है। तो जैसे मार्क्स ने यूरोपियन सोसाइटी को तो डिफरेंट स्टेज में बांट कर देखा, स्लेवरी सिस्टम, फ्यूडलिज्म, कैपिटलिज्म। इफ यू पीपल मे रिकॉल, आई डोंट नो कि आप टुडे अब व्हाट इज योर कंडीशन, आई डोंट नो कि व्हाट in world history you have saved something, in modern history we have saved something, but I am confident even presently you have forgotten, no problem at all, because whenever you make a revision, तो मैंने इतना आपको लिंक करके पढ़ाया हुआ है और मटेरियल भी उसी तरीके से दिया हुआ है जिस लाइन पर पढ़ाया हुआ है। तो जिस दिन आप रिवाइज करोगे अब फ्रेश हो जाएगा और मेरी आवाज भी आपके कानों में गूंज रही होगी, माने माई साउंड इज गोइंग टू इकोइंग और इकोइंग इन योर माइंड व्हेनेवर यू आर मेकिंग रिविजन, तो वो हो जाएगा। आई थिंक नो प्रॉब्लम एट ऑल। तो यूरोप में क्या हुआ कि उन्होंने वहां पर स्लेवरी सिस्टम का फ्यूडलिज्म में ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हुआ था। इंडिया में क्या था कि जो स्लेवरी सिस्टम है उसका यूरोप में फ्यूडलाइजेशन, उसका फॉर्मेशन नहीं हुआ, मतलब स्लेवरी सिस्टम का ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन नहीं हुआ। क्योंकि इंडिया में देखो, इन इंडिया यू कैन से कि डिड द स्लेवरी सिस्टम एग्जिस्ट और नॉट? यस, वी कांट से दैट कि इन इंडिया स्लेवरी सिस्टम डिडंट एग्जिस्ट। फॉर एग्जांपल, यू नो कि Megasthenes is some scholar, you know. So, sorry, not a scholar, foreign traveler. Basically, he was a Greek ambassador to the court of Chandragupta Maurya. So, Megasthenes has given the statement कि there is no slaves in India. माने भारत में दास नहीं होते थे। But it does not mean that in India the slaves were not available. Yes, in India slavery system, you can say India, you can say slaves were there, and slavery in some form existed. But the status of Indian slaves were quite different from slaves in Europe, ancient Greece and Rome. Because in ancient Greece and Rome, in European history, I have told you that there was a slave-based agriculture that is called latifundia. So in Greek and Rome, ancient Greek and Rome, the slave labor was, the labor force of slaves was mobilized on very higher scale. 5,000, 10,000 slaves were just, you can say, involved into cultivation. But in case of India, we are having domestic slaves. But in India, the slaves were not, you can say, massively involved into production. So that's why Indians in Indian in slavery system didn't exist in classical form as you find in case of Europe. मतलब यूरोप में क्या था कि वो प्रोडक्शन में लगाते थे स्लेव्स को। अपने यहाँ क्या था, घरेलू स्लेव था जो घरेलू सेवा वगैरह करता था, लेकिन इंडिया में स्लेव्स बेस्ड प्रोडक्शन नहीं था। तो ये फर्क, इसलिए मेगास्थनीज को स्लेव यहाँ दिखा ही नहीं। तो एक तो ये बात है, वहां पर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन स्लेवरी से फ्यूडलिज्म क्या हुआ, हमारे यहाँ स्लेवरी नहीं था। नंबर 2 कि यूरोपियन फ्यूडलिज्म में आपको मैंने वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री में एक मैनुअल सिस्टम बताया था, सर्फडम। थोड़ा सा मैं स्टूडेंट थोड़ा आप क्लू दो तो सर्फडम थोड़ा भी याद है आपको, या हैव यू फॉरगॉटन इट? आई हैव जस्ट टोल्ड यू इन वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री अबाउट वन फीचर आई हैव मेंशन, दैट इज कॉल्ड सर्फडम और मैनुअल सिस्टम। प्लीज डू द टाइपिंग फास्टली सो दैट आई विल कम टू नो मैनुअल सिस्टम और serfdom, both are the same. Are you recalling or not? Very honestly, you people have to reply.
Yes, sir. Division of land.
Yes, still you are recalling. You are intelligent enough to recall the things. It was really enjoyable for me. That's why I also enjoy your class and your presence, you know. तो वो जो मैनुअल सिस्टम और जो सर्फडम यूरोप में आपने देखा था, मैंने वर्ल्ड हिस्ट्री में बताया था, वो इंडिया में not visible. In India, absent that system. In India, you will not find the evidence of the case of either manual system or serfdom. So that makes Indian feudalism different from European feudalism. अब my friends, for your kind information, recently the scholars like B.D. Chattopadhyay, Harman Kulke, etc., they have rejected the idea of feudalism itself and many other things. Today, now historiography of R.S. Sharma has become old-fashioned, and in the new line of historiography in India, the situation of feudalism is normally not widely accepted. It is simply a matter of discussion, today. And Rabindranath Thapar has made a statement that in India, feudalism was just the semi-feudal, not the total feudal, like Europe, whatever may be. तो ये आपका हुआ feudalism के ऊपर. अब आप लोग बेसिक फाउंडेशन तो समझ ही चुके होंगे. I have to start economy, but topic I can or not, I don't know. Mr. Ankur, everything is okay, my students? No problem at all?
साई श्री बोल रही है कि सर पॉइंट नंबर 3 पर.
अच्छा, Sai Sri. You people have understood the point number 3, let me move here. Decline of trade. देखो इकोनॉमी वाले में मैं आपको बताऊंगा. जैसे साइंसरी इकोनॉमी वाले में क्लियर हो जाएगा आपको. लेट मी मेक मी क्लियर. Give me the chance, give me the time, because after administration I have to finish the topic economy, then society, then culture. Because just recall my formula: political, economic, social and cultural. So whenever I will teach you economy, then this aspect would be crystal clear, no problem at all. Science. Any further question?
No sir.
Okay. So my students, I now have to move to economy, although time is nearing now, but I have to make the constructive use of whatever time we are having at our disposal. So in case of economy, one thing, देखो एक्चुअली मैंने जो आप लोगों को चेंजेज बताया उसमें आपको 2 डायग्राम बताया थे, याद होगा. अब इस एक डायग्राम को आप याद करिए. दैट इज इकोनॉमिक, पॉलिटिकल, social and cultural. So my friends, particularly after the rise of Marxist historiography, the economic factor became a very important factor. In one sense, economic change is the basis of all change. Suppose you can say we have done administration, Later we will do society, then we will do culture, for example, religion, philosophy, art and architecture, etc., etc. So there also I have to inform you that the economic change is the basic and foundational change. We have just made a study of administration. Just tell me one thing. You have observed in Vedic period. So in Vedic period, state formation didn't take place. The position of the king was weak. Even the taxation system was not fully established. There was no standing army, there was no professional bureaucracy, etc., etc. But why did during Buddha age state formation become possible? A standing army and professional bureaucracy came into existence, and there was the creation of the big Mahajanpada. Can you explain the change without the economic factor? Obviously, you can say economic surplus led to this phenomena. The established agriculture, craft, trade, second urbanization, etc. So they are going to make a major difference in existing polity, And will same happen in case of society? Will same happen in case of religion? So my students, while underlining the changes, you people have to make notice, please, going through economy section. The economic change is the basis of all change. इसको हम इग्नोर नहीं कर सकते हैं. जो आर्थिक परिवर्तन होता है तो राजनीतिक परिवर्तन, सामाजिक परिवर्तन, सांस्कृतिक परिवर्तन सबको अपने तरीके से दिशा देता है. अब ये दूसरी बात है कि राजनीतिक चेंज, सामाजिक चेंज और धार्मिक सांस्कृतिक चेंज भी इकोनॉमिक चेंज को इन्फ्लुएंस करता है. दैट इज both are complementary to each other. But whenever there is the question of primacy between the two, so definitely you can say that the primacy should be given to the economic factor. Okay, so in this way the changes are going on. तो अब
we have to start from Rig Vedic to later Vedic, and today as the time is over, so better to let it be finished here, and tomorrow I will just do first economy. And if you will have the time, definitely you will have the time, then you have to give society, because we are having a limited time, for example 1 hour 20 minutes, and it is essential for me to at least give you 5 questions, because I cannot ignore this phenomena, because that is the best means for the communication between us. So definitely I will continue this method, and in mains also the mains question we have to do. थोड़ा सा हिंदी भी बोलना पड़ता है, तो थोड़ा सा उसमें भी टाइम लग जाता है, कोई बात नहीं है, हम लोग कर लेंगे, आप लोग हमारे साथ हैं, कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. Mr. Ankur, any question? Because I am stopping here today and I have to do the thing tomorrow. Thank you very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you very much.